Iceberg charts. We all love them. Within the FNAF community, there has been many iceberg charts made about every inch of the lore. But for how many technical oddities that are present in these games, I've never seen a technical FNAF iceberg. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Bones5 YouTube channel on YouTube. My Discord server and I have constructed this technical FNAF iceberg that I'll be explaining in this two-part series. Now, whenever I watch an iceberg video on YouTube, the guy making it always takes like 2 whole minutes to explain what an iceberg chart is, but seeing as you clicked on this video, you probably know what's up. The stuff at the top is well known, and as we go down, the stuff at the bottom is super obscure. But there are some specifics that I want to go over for this particular iceberg. This iceberg is covering both aspects of technical FNAF and some entries relating to the max mode community. Because of the mysterious nature of FNAF games and how a lot of the community has really only seen these games through YouTube, a lot of these earlier entries are going to be widespread misconceptions that we're going to be correcting. Then as we go down, we'll see more and more niche entries. With that said, let's get into tier 1 of the technical FNAF iceberg. Tier 1 of the iceberg is surface level FNAF knowledge. These are likely things that you would hear from people who follow FNAF for the lore, but haven't really played the games or know anything about the gameplay. 20-20-20 mode is almost impossible. This is a true classic and one of the best ways to start off the iceberg. In FNAF 1, setting every single animatronics AI to max in the custom night, then beating that night in full was thought to be a near impossible challenge. This was the first max mode, and it was originally thought to be insanely difficult. The original FNAF 1 420 strategy, now called the Big Bug strat, was used in order to beat this night. This involved setting your camera on Pirate's Cove and closing the right door on every single cam flip, then using your door lights to check for Bonnie and Chica. This was largely popularized due to Markiplier's video in which he completes 20-20-20 mode.
Oh my god! Oh, I did it! Ah!
Because of how extreme his reaction was, people to this day swear that 420 is almost impossible and extremely difficult, though the strategy for FNAF 1 420 has evolved far beyond the Big Bug strat, and anyone with a bit of technical FNAF knowledge would actually say it's extremely easy, putting it on the surface of the iceberg. Markiplier is the king of FNAF. Just as we were talking about him in the last entry, the saying that Markiplier is the king of FNAF has become common among the widespread FNAF community. It's no denying that as far as popularity goes, this title is well deserved, but people often attribute this title to his skill in beating the max modes of all the games, which we'll discuss the legitimacy of later down in the iceberg.
What? No, alright, I know that sounds bad.
Because of the widespread popularity of these videos, people outside the technical FNAF community will often think of Markiplier as the best FNAF player, when there is much more that we have to talk about. Am I saying that Markiplier is bad at FNAF? Of course not. But is he the best FNAF player in the world? Unfortunately, no. FNAF 2 1020 is the hardest max mode. Out of all of the entries in this tier, this is the one that I have the most personal connection to. The technical FNAF community has always had a fascination with pushing FNAF 2 as far as it can possibly go. The biggest reason for this is people will swear up and down that FNAF 2 1020 is the hardest and most luck-based max mode in the world. I've even seen some comments saying that it's so luck-based that it's less consistent than 50-20. I have to admit, I was one of these people in my earlier days on this channel, until I was awoken by the technical FNAF gods. But overall, with modern strategies, FNAF 2's 1020 can be beaten really consistently, with upcoming strategies seeing results of 50 to 100 wins in a row being possible. I think the reason that most people think FNAF 2 1020 is so difficult is because of 1, Markiplier, and 2, not knowing proper strategies. If you try and play FNAF 2 1020 like you would the normal game without having things like RVC or a timer, then yeah, it would be extremely RNG based. But so many strategies have been developed at this point that FNAF 2 1020 is nowhere near what it once was. As a matter of fact, it's actually ranked as the 252nd hardest max mode of all time on the max mode list. Dawko was the first person to beat 50-20. When people think of the time period when UCN released, the first thing that usually comes to mind is Dawko's 50-20 completion. This reaction has become iconic among the FNAF community. Because Dawko is such a big name in the FNAF community and how iconic this clip is, a lot of people attribute the first ever 50-20 victory to this video of Dawko. But in reality, a player named Remery was the actual first victor of 50-20. In a crazy endurance stream of 12 hours, and after 65 hours of streaming total, Remery would finally beat 50-20.
Oh my god!
That covers the first tier of our iceberg. Now we can expect a little bit of game knowledge being required to understand some of these entries going forward. If tier 1 of the iceberg was surface level FNAF knowledge, tier 2 of the iceberg is surface level technical FNAF knowledge. If you've watched a couple of videos on FNAF's gameplay or how the AI works, you're likely to understand this tier. Toy Bonnie. When I said earlier in the last tier about how people claim 1020 is impossible, when you ask them why 1020 is impossible, it'll be because of Toy Bonnie. Toy Bonnie has gained a reputation for being the sole reason why 1020 is so difficult. I can't tell you how many times I've heard the phrase it should be called Toy Bonnie mode and not Golden Freddy mode when referring to 1020. The reason for this is because Toy Bonnie will wait an event for a random amount of time while you're trying to force him out. How long he waits could mess up the cycle of the night, drain your music box, or get you killed to Foxy. Modern strategies have found ways to work around Toy Bonnie and found that he really isn't that bad. He has a 1/2 chance to leave the vent on every 0.5 second interval when the mask is on. So if Toy Bonnie has waited in your vent for more than 2 seconds, know that you just rolled a 1 in 16 chance. However, he's still the only reason that some strategies aren't 100% consistent, but only when given insanely bad RNG. Tech rules. On January 16th of 2020, YouTuber Tech Rules would upload a video titled Ruining FNAF by Dissecting the Animatronics AI. This video blew up and was where most of the modern era of technical FNAF started. This video introduced the concepts of movement opportunities, intervals, AI values, and a bunch of other oddities in FNAF 1. This is what got most people into dissecting these games as a whole. And I guarantee pretty much everyone who's a fan of this channel has definitely seen that video. Though it does get a few things wrong that were widespread misconceptions. Mainly Foxy's interval when he's being cam stalled, which is actually 0.83 seconds to 17.48 seconds, and how Golden Freddy works. But I probably have my whole channel because of this video, so who am I to judge? Chicken Ninja 42. Chicken Ninja 42 is a popular YouTuber known for challenge running the FNAF games, with runs such as Sister Location Blindfolded and FNAF 1 without using the door lights. These videos popularized the challenge portion of the FNAF games in a new and unique way, and drew a lot of attention to the max mode and technical FNAF community, as Chicken Ninja would often use AI in these videos to explain the strategies for these challenges. Though there is a bit of the Markiplier effect here, but we'll get into that in the third tier. Bonnie teleporting. This could honestly go in tier 1. The only reason that it's down here is because some people think that Bonnie can just teleport straight from the show stage to your doors, and that obviously isn't true. Bonnie's quote-unquote teleportation is defined by this movement tree. Anywhere that has an arrow pointing towards it is a possible movement Bonnie can make on a successful movement opportunity. If there's a line with no arrows, that means Bonnie can move in both directions. The movement which causes most people to say that he teleports is here, when he goes straight from camera 1B, the dining area, to camera 2A, the West Hall, which is a pretty big jump. I think the reason for Bonnie's teleporting is because Scott didn't want to have anyone else but Foxy in Pirate's Cove to take away from watching him on the cameras. So to get around Pirate's Cove, Bonnie teleports. Turn your FPS down to 1. In FNAF 1, there's a well-known glitch with how animatronic timers are programmed. You see, in FNAF 1, the global night time is calculated using a simple timer in seconds. But animatronic interval timers for movements are calculated using frames. So if you run FNAF 1 at a really low frame rate, the animatronics will be super slow, but time will move at the same speed. The reason that this doesn't work for later FNAF games is because the intervals use time as a metric instead of frames, and are usually a whole value. For example, FNAF 2 and 4 both use flat 5-second intervals for movement. So this is a FNAF 1 exclusive glitch. And that's the end of tier 2. Now we move on to tier 3. In this tier, you'll still see a lot of surface level technical FNAF knowledge, but to understand this tier, you've at least had to play some of the games. CD+. CD+ is a known cheat code that you can input to skip nights in the first 2 FNAF games. In order to skip a night in the first game, Simply press C and then D, then press plus on the number pad and the nighttime will instantly jump to 6 AM. In FNAF 2, you can skip nights the same way, with the added condition that you have to hover your mouse over Toy Freddy's nose on the poster. This cheat code wouldn't appear again after the second game, but less known cheat codes in later games will be discussed further down in the iceberg. FNAF 2 RVC. RVC, standing for Right Vent Camp Strategy, was the first big improvement in the FNAF 2 metagame. The way that early victors of FNAF 2, like Markiplier and A Look It's FNAF, completed it was by using A Look It's FNAF strat, which involved winding the music box based on Foxy's position, then holding your cursor at the bottom of the screen while the mask was on to buffer pulling the mask up, then checking both the left and right vents for any threats and repeating. The right vent camp strat completely eliminates the left vent entirely. In order to do the right vent camp strat, whenever there's a blackout, hold the mask on for an extra 0.5 to 0.75 seconds. You see, the left vent animatronics and Mangle will always leave after 5 seconds with the mask on. The blackouts from the Wizards will also last 5 seconds. So in theory, every time that you deal with a withered animatronic, you should be getting rid of all the vent animatronics. So why are they still there? Well, there's still the animation of putting the mask on to account for. And when you hold your mouse down at the bottom of the screen, you'll never have the mask on for the full 5 seconds. Waiting that extra 0.5 to 0.75 seconds will keep the mask on for the full 5 seconds, getting rid of every vent animatronic except Toy Bonnie, meaning you only have to check the right vent, hence the name Right Vent Camp Strat. DJ Sturf. DJ Sturf is an iconic figure in the technical FNAF and Max Mode community. He was one of the first victors for almost every single Max Mode across all of the main games and was the third person to complete 50/20 mode in Ultimate Custom Night. DJ Sturf has made many contributions to the overall game knowledge for the FNAF games, especially for FNAF 2 and Ultimate Custom Night. DJ Sturf is overall regarded as the GOAT and the real king of FNAF within the Max Mode community, which is why he's here at Tier 3. Cam stalling. Cam stalling is a technique used in Ultimate Custom Night. In Ultimate Custom Night, only a select few animatronics can spawn or jump scare you without your cameras being pulled up. Meaning that if you wait until the last possible moment when your ventilation is about to fail to pull up the cameras, you only have to deal with a few select threats. This is the backbone for almost all strategy in UCN, and in combination with GMB cycling makes up the majority of the strategy for 50/20 mode. 50/20 without this strategy is still possible, but it is very difficult. AI values, intervals, and movement opportunities. I decided to group these entries together because they're all part of how FNAF games handle animatronic movement. The AI value refers to the AI level of the animatronic, usually ranging from 1 to 20. The interval refers to how often an animatronic takes to move, and these together combine to make movement opportunities. Every interval, a random number is generated which is compared to this AI value. If the random number is greater than or equal to that AI value, the animatronic moves. This system is used throughout all of the games to determine movement pretty much everywhere. This is still pretty high up on the iceberg though, as it's been talked about to death since the Tech Rules video. Post Shift 2 is the hardest FNAF fan game. Oh, I'm excited for this one. Remember earlier when I mentioned that Chicken Ninja had a Markiplier effect? This is what I was talking about. Chicken Ninja made 2 videos in which he beats and 100%s Post Shift 2, claiming that Post Shift 2 was almost impossible and the hardest FNAF fan game ever made. No disrespect to Chicken Ninja, but this isn't even close to true. The hardest Post Shift 2 night, stage 05 at 0.5 speed, only places 90 on the main list for the Max Mode list. This has become a meme in the Max Mode community, something along the lines of Post Shift 2 truly is the hardest game. While Post Shift 2 is definitely very difficult, it is nowhere near the top of the list, with many people believing that it is. Now if you're wondering, The Bones 5, why do you say this? Which games are harder than Post Shift 2? Oh boy, here we go. Finds at Candy's 2 but better, finds at Yoshi's Ultra Deluxe, finds at Freddy's 1 Ultra Custom Night, finds at Candy's 1 but better, Sister Location's Super Custom Night, The Chaos Playhouse, Playtime with Percy, finds at Candy's 3 Deluxe, Tyken Sons, how do you even pronounce that? I'm gonna say Oblitus Casa, Camera Custom Night, 5 Nights with Thug Hunters. No, I'm not joking, this is a real game and it is hard as hell, no pun intended. UCN Recode, UCN Deluxe, Finds at Treasure Island but dumb, Animator's Hell, Finds at Kenny's 3 but better, Finds at Chuck E. Cheese Rebooted, and many more. Is Post Shift 2 easy? Hell no, but it is not the hardest FNAF fan game ever made. And that wraps up the 3rd tier of our iceberg. Now with Tier 4 and onward, we're getting into the good stuff. Sister Location Pre-Patch. Sister Location's pre-patch refers to two things that were originally very difficult in Sister Location that were nerfed with subsequent patches. In patch 1.02, Night 4's minigame, in which you have to keep your spring locks unwound while knocking off the approaching mini-arenas, was made easier. In patch 1.1 and 1.11, the Sister Location Custom Night was added, and its max mode, called Golden Freddy, very hard. This custom night features fast-paced gameplay and extremely tight power usage. The custom night was so hard on launch that for the time it was considered impossible. 2 days after the initial release of Golden Freddy mode, it was heavily nerfed. Functionally, the night played the exact same, with the only difference being the amount of power you're given. On the pre-patch version, beating the night while running out of power, meaning you have nothing left, is equivalent to beating the night with 16% left over in post-patch. The first victor of this challenge would be Zombie Gabriel on April 15th of 2018. A full 2 years after the initial release of Sister Location. To this day, pre-patch Sister Location still lives in infamy, with many considering Sister Location's pre-patch 1020 to be harder than 5020. FNAF 2 Toxic Meter. Before FNAF 2 was released, it was originally planned to feature a toxic meter that would fill up after extended use of the Freddy mask. There's not much to say about this feature other than the fact that it would make 1020 a bit more RNG based as an extra added threat. The video that I'm playing in the background is just a guess on how the timer would work, as it was scrapped pretty early on, so we don't know what kind of numbers it may have used. Hidden AI caps. In FNAF Custom Nights, the displayed AI value of some characters is not always accurate to the actual AI they have in game. These are called AI caps, meaning that once a character is above a certain AI level, they can never go higher than that value unless it's modded into the game. Here are all of the AI caps throughout the series. In FNAF 2, Foxy is capped at 17 AI, Golden Freddy is capped at 10 AI, and everyone else is capped at 15 AI. If you're wondering what true 1020 would look like, it's actually easier than the normal 1020, as you'll get a blackout on every single camera drop. So Scott knew what he was doing with this one. In FNAF 4, Freddy's AI is capped at 6 normally, and with Mad Freddy, Freddy's progression is equivalent to 10 AI, meaning that uncapped Nightmare Freddy is double what Mad Freddy would be. In order to complete a true 20 AI Freddy, Foxy is never allowed to get in, and you have to be checking the bed constantly. All of the other games either don't have AI caps at 20, or don't have a custom night or 420 mode where you could alter the AI values. FNAF 6 Ad Monster. The FNAF 6 Ad Monster is a possible hint at a 5th animatronic that may have been intended for the game upon accepting all sponsorships. You see, when an animatronic is under the pizzeria, whether it be through purchasing a risky item or completing their salvage, they're assigned an MID. These MIDs range from 1 to 5. Though the existing animatronics only fill IDs 2 to 5, leaving the 1 ID slot empty. However, on line 686 of the MFA, upon accepting every sponsorship, it shows that the first MID is activated, though this doesn't mean anything as there's no other code linked to it. This leads people to believe that there may have been an additional 5th animatronic planned that could only be activated through accepting every ad. This would be much lower on the iceberg, but it was featured in It's Taken's AI breakdown of FNAF 6, so it's here on tier 4. It's Taken. Speaking of It's Taken is a FNAF YouTuber that focuses on explaining strange oddities in the FNAF code, along with 2 videos on how FNAF 4 and 6 work. These videos are very well put together and garnered a lot of attention, making the mechanics in these games much easier to understand. Shooter 25. Shooter 25 is a FNAF challenge runner and modder and is one of the best max mode players in the world. If I were to go over all the max modes and mods this man has beaten, I'd be here for the next hour or 2. But to give some highlights, Shooter has beaten 50-20 no stalling, 14-22, True Nightmare all challenges, 50-50, Puppet Master all challenges, 50-20 Deluxe NDC, and much more. The Bones 5. Oh wow man, this guy sucks at FNAF and he makes horrible videos. I hate this guy. Fuck, dude. And that's the end of tier 4. From this point onward, most people without max mode list or click team experience won't be familiar with most of these entries. FNAF 1 Golden Freddy AI. It's Taken made a whole video on this topic if you'd like to see a deeper look into this entry, but the chance of seeing Golden Freddy in FNAF 1 has been misinterpreted many times. The first misconception is that Golden Freddy has a 1 in 100,000 chance to appear on the poster in the West Hall corner every time the camera is checked. You might think that this means that this is a 1 in 100,000 every time you pull up the cameras, but this would be wrong. This 1 in 100,000 check is actually updating on every single second. Once the check succeeds, the next time you view the West Hall corner, it'll be the Golden Freddy poster. The second misconception has to do with how RNG is handled in FNAF's engine, ClickTeam Fusion 2.5. You see, the random function in ClickTeam is stored as an unsigned short. This data type can only store numbers with a maximum of 65,535 or 2 to the 16th power minus 1. 100,000 is above this maximum, so in order to account for that, and because this specific data type cannot be negative, the game wraps around the limit, giving a true Golden Freddy chance of 1 in 34,464. Now, It's Taken also pointed out that based on the way the random number generation works for 16-bit integers, it can't be as precise when dealing with chances this low, as the random numbers won't always divide cleanly with the 16-bit integer limit. This creates a bias, slightly increasing Golden Freddy's chance of spawning to 1 in 32,768 every second. -7. -7 is a unique way to beat FNAF 2's 1020 mode. This strategy is much more difficult than the conventional strategy, but has the added bonus of being the only FNAF 2 strategy that can win 100% of the time given a perfect player. Now, you might be thinking, how is this possible in FNAF 2? In theory, Toy Bonnie could wait an event for an infinite amount of time and drain your box the whole way. That would be true if Toy Bonnie could even get to the vent in the first place. You see, whenever you flash an animatronic in FNAF 2 on the cameras, they are stunned for 400 frames or 6.66 seconds. This will apply to all of the animatronics in a given camera. The 7 animatronics that were stalling have to go through these 3 cameras. Toy Bonnie and Withered Chica have to go through Cam 4, Withered Bonnie, Withered Freddy, and Toy Chica have to go through Cam 7, and Toy Freddy and Mangle have to go through Cam 10. So if we use a stopwatch and pull up the cameras to flash on every 2-second and 7-second interval, we can keep all these animatronics permanently stalled. Though there is one animatronic that makes this strategy much more difficult. Balloon Boy is not able to be stalled using the flashlight. So when Balloon Boy enters the vent, you'll have to wait until he succeeds on a movement, then hold the mask on until he leaves. This leaves roughly a 0.5 second window for you to flash the 3 cameras and keep everyone stalled, making for a much more difficult but cool way to complete 1020 mode. If you'd like to hear more about this specific strategy, I have a full video on it that I'll put a card to. ClickTeam. ClickTeam is the engine that FNAF games use in order to run. Almost every single FNAF game and fan game uses this engine. ClickTeam is primarily useful for point-and-click games, and has been pushed to its absolute limits by the FNAF fan game community, like with Post Shift 2. ClickTeam is what allows people like me and so many others to read and understand the code of these games, and it's honestly the whole reason why any of this is possible in the first place. Max Mode List. I've referred to this many times before in the Iceberg, but only as a way to compare max modes, and I haven't really explained what it is. If any of you are familiar with the Demon List from Geometry Dash, this is pretty much the same thing, but for the hardest max modes in FNAF games. A max mode is something like 1020 in FNAF 2 or Aggressive Nightmare in FNAF 3. Whatever the hardest challenge the FNAF game or fan game has to offer is its max mode. However, unlike Demons in Geometry Dash, FNAF games have the element of RNG, which is hard to account for in a list-like format. For example, Sister Locations 1020 is harder skill-wise than FNAF 3's Aggressive Nightmare, but when factoring in RNG, even as a perfect player, you'd still lose more often on Aggressive Nightmare. For this reason, the max mode list is split into 2 components. The main list, which ranks based on skill, and the unlimited list, which ranks based on both skill and RNG evenly. Through extensive discussion and ranking, the max mode list community has compiled every single max mode from FNAF games and fan games into these 2 list rankings. If you'd like to view these rankings for yourself, I'll leave a link to the max mode list site in the description. FNAF 3, 4, and 6 Teleportation. In FNAF 3, FNAF 4, and FNAF 6, animatronics are able to teleport when certain conditions are met. Let's start with FNAF 3. There's a common myth that Springtrap speeds up when you get jumpscared by a phantom animatronic, but this is actually him teleporting. If Springtrap is in cams 10, 9, 8, 7, or 6 when the jump scare occurs, he'll teleport to either 4, 5, or 10. If he's in cam 5 when the jump scare happens, he'll go to 2, and if he's in 2, he'll instantly run past the window. In FNAF 4, Bonnie, Chica, and Fredbear all have unique teleportation mechanics. In nights 2 to 4, Bonnie and Chica will each select a random hour. For Bonnie, this ranges 2 to 5 AM, and for Chica, this is 3 to 5 AM. Once this random hour is reached, the next time the player looks at the center of the room, Bonnie or Chica will teleport. For Fredbear, if he's been waiting in a hallway for 10 seconds or more, and the player goes to the opposite door where Fredbear is located, he'll silently teleport to the bed of the closet. In FNAF 6, Molten Freddy, Scraptrap, and Scrap Baby can all teleport once per night. This is all based around this center square in the map here. If 10 seconds have passed in the night and Molten Freddy enters this square, he'll teleport to the room outside of the left vent. For Scraptrap and Scrap Baby, it's the exact same, except they'll be going to the room outside of the right vent, and 20 seconds are required to have passed. Night 2 Golden Freddy. Night 2 Golden Freddy refers to the extremely low chance of Golden Freddy appearing in FNAF 2 on Night 2. In order for this to happen, the game first rolls a 1 in 1000 chance whenever the night first starts. If this chance succeeds, then Golden Freddy is set to 1 AI for the night, meaning only if the 1 in 1000 chance succeeds, on every 5-second interval when the cameras are up, Golden Freddy has a 1 in 20 chance to spawn. SC4, SC6, Control S, CD1, and CD2. Earlier I mentioned the CD plus cheat code, but there are some less known cheat codes throughout the series. Let's start with SC4 and SC6. When FNAF 4 is on its warning screen before the main menu, pressing the C key on your keyboard will enable cheat mode. This is not displayed anywhere, but as long as you press C before the warning screen begins to fade, cheat mode will be enabled. Now, when you enter a night, you can press SC4 in order to skip to 4 AM, and SC6 in order to skip to 6 AM. Control S is a cheat code in FNAF 6 that's used to skip salvages. Simply holding Control S as you enter the salvage will completely skip the salvage and give you the money for it. CD1 and CD2 are codes in FNAF 1. Instead of inputting them within the night, stay on the main menu screen. CD1 will unlock Night 6, and CD2 will unlock the custom night. With that, we are now halfway through our iceberg. Unfortunately, I am going to have to stop the video here, but I am definitely going to continue this and finish out the second half in a part 2. So if you'd like to see that, like, subscribe, it helps a bunch. Also, I'd like to mention that it may be a bit until the next upload. Am I taking a break? Of course not. We only suffer on this channel. Instead, it's because the next video will contain the most difficult FNAF challenge that I've ever done. And I'll give you a hint, it has to do with a Nuzlocke. With that said, thank you for watching this video. Peace.